friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life. I hope that you're doing great. Tonight what I'm doing is I'm putting together a pea soup, and I'm using dry pea lentils. And right now, while I start talking to you, I thought I would check to make sure there's no stones in here. And when you buy your dry lentils in the bag at the grocery store, you want to sift through your peas to make sure there's no little stones in there that can get in there. And so far, nothing. I actually buy mine from out west, but I have gotten some from the grocery store, and but it doesn't matter. Peas are peas. You can also dehydrate your own peas, which I have done, and the same thing is you might be able to you can dehydrate your own peas and stuff like that, but I'm using the ones that I purchased because this is similar to what you might be able to get at the grocery store. And I'm trying to, not only for myself, but when I share, I'm trying to share things that would be beneficial for other people. And I know a lot of people are watching their budgets a little bit more. And so I just thought I would share how I make pea soup. Right now, I just go through the peas and take out all the stones, if there is any. There's not generally a lot, but I guess it might depend on the bags that you get. And then you can rinse it off after you get them. So I'm going to sit here and get this all taken care of. So there's a reason that I enjoy making the pea soup for my husband. First, we have a ham that we had at Christmas time. And we've been taking it out a little bit because he likes it for sandwiches. And so that's what he's been having. And then I told him this last time, because I took a batch out of the freezer, I said, I'm going to make some pea soup using the ham. And so he's all excited about that. So I have a tendency not to use a ham hock because I'm using the actual ham. So what I'll be doing is a little bit different than the recipe might call for. But if you have the bones of a ham and stuff like that, you can just put it right in here while everything is cooking, and then you would take it out. So I'm sharing that now in case I forget to say that once the peas are actually cooked down. And I'm truly not a fan of peas, but I love pea soup. And I think it's a texture thing. I've been trying to figure out why I don't like them, because like I do not like canned peas that you might pick up at the grocery store. Never have. And but I do like frozen peas, and I like peas fresh from the garden. So we're almost done here. Oh, this is a good batch of peas. Okay. So I end up, what I need is 8 cups of water to put in my pot. So I've already put 4 cups in because this is a 4-cup measure, so I'm going to put the other 4 cups in, so that'll be 8. But I also need to rinse these. So I'm just going to rinse them through the water here. What I do is I put them in there, and let's see, I know I have a spatula of sorts that I can use to, and here it is. Actually, it's a sieve that I'm going to use. And you just basically rinse them off pretty good. This is how I do it. Some people might rinse more. Oops, I'll make a mess of my floor today. Let me see if I can do it something different here. What I did was I poured the water through this to get it all taken care of. So I'm going to put the peas in here and get them going. Now, one of the recipe does call for carrots later on. Well, I don't have any fresh carrots, and the carrots that I've been getting at the grocery store are not really looking good. So I don't have any fresh carrots here right now. I'm hoping I have success in growing them this year. But right now, I do not have any. So what can I do to actually add the carrots in? Now, typically you would add the carrots in a little bit later. And this is where you're going to discover how I change up a recipe to fit with what I have on hand. I don't have carrots, but I do have freeze-dried carrots. And those are some that I had already purchased, and I purchased them for this kind of thing when I don't have a fresh vegetable or something. So that's what I do. So it calls for 2 carrots, and I'm just going to give this half a cup of carrots. Let's see, I have the measure here. And I'm going to also put it in with the peas so that the water can absorb it. And the recipe typically calls for celery, which you would put on a little bit later. My husband is not a fan of celery, but I probably will put some celery salt in, and not a lot per se. So let me see here. Let me get this stuff in. I got the cold water. It does call for chicken bouillon. I've already got the water in there, so I'm not going to put chicken broth in. So many people might not make your own chicken broth. So I am going to get some chicken bouillon out of here that you might already have on hand. Let's see, I know it's in here. This is the next cupboard I have to go through because I did a cleanup in here, a little bit while back. And what happens is you start going through things. Hold on. And you put things back and so forth, so you always kind of misplace things. So I don't use the bouillons very much, so that's why I'm having difficulty saying, where is it? Because I use my own chicken broth. But I wanted to present this to you in a way that makes sense for you who might not have things already prepared. Okay, I'm going to put this on pause because I know there is some. I went downstairs. I usually have some up here, so I don't know. I haven't used it in so long, so it's possible I ran out and I've been using my broth. But I always have something like this on hand, which is typically what you might find in the grocery store. And I believe you can get a store brand, which might be cheaper, but you just add one of these into this soup mixture. I like having these on hand because even though my husband is cooking more with me, this is more simple. If I gave him an old recipe, he'll know where this is. And that's why I'm kind of like presenting this because, like I said, not everybody's going to have broth on hand, and you might get to the grocery store and forget to buy some. So I would recommend having this on hand. Now if you, let's see, how much would one of these? So just one bouillon cube. And let's see, what would that equal? I'm trying to find it really quick. Okay, directions. Small print. I'm having trouble. So 1 cube to 1 cup of water. So 8 cups. So if you were to make some of this, you would do that ratio. So this will get all cooked up. This I'm going to cook for about an hour. And it's been cooking a little bit right now as I went downstairs. So what else will I be adding in here? Let me put a few of these things away. So other things that I'm going to be adding in here, and this, by the way, comes from the Better Homes and Garden Cookbook, and I just took the sheet out. It's easier to read instead of holding the book up. So you have your dried peas. I put in dried carrots and 8 cups of cold water. This was a 4-cup measure, so I doubled that. So keep an eye. It looks like maybe that's 8 cups, but you want to make sure you're putting the right amount in. The bouillon cube. Why am I saying cube? And then a meaty ham bone. I don't have a ham bone today, but I do have ham in the refrigerator because we took it out of the freezer so my husband could have some sandwiches the last 2 days, and I'm going to be putting that in here towards the end. Let's see. I'll be putting in some marjoram, some crushed pepper, a medium onion, which I'm going to cut up now. So let me do that. And I will be saving the onion skins and this onion ends to put in the refrigerator so I can make a vegetable broth or chicken or beef broth, because I add in all the frozen veggies that I collect into broths. Because I try really hard not to waste any food, because we just don't like to see the food wasted. But it says 1 medium to a large. It depends on what recipe you read. And this was, to me, a large onion. And onions get soft as you're cooking them, so I'm not worried about that. I will be using a immersion blender later to kind of mix this all together. So what other things are going to go in here? I mentioned that it's going to need some pepper and let's see, some marjoram. Let's see what I got here. I definitely need to clean up through there because life gets busy and you get kind of hustling about. So I'm going to shake in some marjoram. Actually, I can put in, what does it say? Just a 1/4 teaspoon. That's 1 teaspoon. We won't do that. Okay, 1/4 teaspoon of that. Let's see, I have some black pepper. Let's see what I'm going to do here. And a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. This is something I do have to follow a recipe to some degree because I don't make it all the time. Okay, this is. So I like to have the recipe in front of me to make it. So I've got all that in. Okay, many of you might have this kind of garlic in your house. It's already minced and stuff. You can put in, I would say like a tablespoon in. It depends on how much garlic you actually like. see, I think that is about it. So we're going to be cooking this. I'm going to turn it down because it's out of oil. So I'm going to turn it all the way down to a simmer, as low as my stove can go. Pick up what I have here, put it away, and then once this is done, I'm going to take the immersion blender out, mix it up, and then we will put in the ham. So we will see you back when this is ready. About 20 more minutes to cook, and it smells wonderful. So we'll see what this is like in a little bit. So this is all done with the first part of all this. So I'm going to use the immersion blender and we'll get this all taken care of. I'm going to put a little bit more water in here. We like it thick, but I think I want it a little bit not so thick. This is about a half cup of water. I'm going to just put a quarter cup in first and see how that does. So this is what it looks like right now. You can see some of the carrot and stuff like that, and this is the pea soup. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut up some of the ham, maybe all of the ham. No, there won't be all of it because there's quite a bit there. And just chop it up. Now this may not be the way everybody else would like, but as it cooks down, it will also kind of break apart a little bit too. Since there's a little bit of ham left, I mean, this ham that we got for Christmas is going the distance. He's had sandwiches because we put it in the freezer, and I think tomorrow I'll either make him a quiche or make him a breakfast with it. Now I will not immersion blend the ham in there, and part of that reason is because David prefers to have the chunks of ham, and I don't blame him actually. Let's see how. No, I'm gonna put more in. Let's see what we got left. Actually, this will make a nice quiche. So I'm going to put what's left into the refrigerator and make him a quiche later. Because I have to now cook it for another half hour, I'm going to add the remainder of this, because I added an extra half cup. This is the remaining of that half cup, which is another quarter cup. I'm just going to add that in there. And let this cook down a little bit more. Now, it's still thick, because I mentioned to you that it's, I wanted to add water so it wasn't too thick. So let me see how this is tasting. It tastes really good. The reason I tasted it, I actually can already taste the ham. The reason that I tasted the soup is because I want to make sure it had good flavor. Now, I put pepper in it, but I did not put salt in it, which is kind of good because the ham is giving it the flavor. And it's interesting because I just put the ham in, stirring it up, it gives it a salty flavor, plus the other seasonings that are in there. Actually, no, I'm going to put some salt in there. Okay, settle down. I know I double dipped with my finger, but there we go. I think that's going to be perfect. If not, if he doesn't think it's salty enough, he'll just add some. And we'll both enjoy this. Okay. So this will simmer for another 29 minutes. And I will be back. I'm back and the soup is done. I'm really happy about it because it's just smelling really, really well. So I'm going to take a small serving out. And show you what it looks like. It's a thick soup, so it's not dripping out, but it does move. It's pretty hot, so I don't know if this is going to be tasty or not. Hold on. Very hot, but it tastes amazing. You can taste the ham, you can taste the peas and the carrots, you can taste the onions and the garlic and everything. This is amazing. So I hope that if you're trying to find a meal that can be economical for you, I mean, a pound of peas, the peas that you get in the bag, dried peas with the lentils and stuff, that's a couple dollars. Get a carrot and shred it down if you want, or you can get some dried carrots. And I suppose if you want, you can use canned carrot and strain it and stuff just to have that flavor that you might want. So remember, when you have a recipe and you don't have something, you can kind of piggyback and say, okay, what do I want to put in there? Like the garlic, you can put in the minced garlic that many people buy that's in a jar in the produce aisle. You can also get fresh garlic and squeeze it out. So we are all done with this soup, and I am very, very excited because it turned out beautiful. And the reason I'm sharing some recipes, and you know that I try to be as frugal as possible for my husband and I, is we still stretch our dollars. I will still stretch my dollars. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring in terms of will he always have a job? Will the world collapse and we need food? And I know there's a lot of people out there still promoting that kind of stuff. And do I think it's important to prepare? I do. But I think more importantly than that, I think it's important for us to have staple items on our shelves. more so when you have a snowstorm or an ice storm or any of that, so that you can make a meal. Now, so we boiled this up, the peas. We took out the pebbles and I added in dried carrots. I had that on hand. I didn't have fresh carrots. If you have fresh carrots, make sure you shred them down, slice them up or whatever. Put it in after, because it's going to cook up for an hour. After that, you put them in and you cook it for another half hour. If you have a fresh garlic, crush it up, throw that in. If you have, and if you don't have that, you can get the garlic in a jar at your produce aisle. Now, I shared some things that we have on hand. We rarely use, like the chicken broth in cubes. And the reason I got that is not everybody has chicken broth and not everybody makes their own chicken broth. So you can get those cubes, and I keep them as a backup, because if we go camping, we could actually take some rice, a bouillon cube, and some water and make a rice, a rice dish with the chicken flavor. But this way I have it on hand. I don't use it typically because I usually have chicken broth. Now, if you have chicken broth, I put 8 cups of water in. What you would do with this is you would take that broth and you would fill that container up of that broth and then top it up to make 8 cups. So you would not have to put in chicken flavor bouillon. And then what are some other tips? The garlic I already said. The pepper, most people have pepper on hand. If you don't like pepper, you really don't taste it that bad. But that's up to you. The other thing is salt. It did need salt. The recipe did not call for salt. I felt it needed it. And I'm not a huge salt person, but I needed it in this. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that we did here. I'm trying to share some alternate type stuff. Okay, so I already talked about chicken broth and the water that you need, so you can combine the two or put a chicken bouillon cube in. I'm still not saying cube right. Your dried split peas, the ham bone. I've talked about that a little bit already. An onion. It says a medium onion. I had a large onion, and I love it. I know my husband will like it too. And you got to chop it up, but I chopped it up big because I was going to take the immersion blender, and it worked fine. Some pepper, quarter teaspoon of marjoram, and then the marjoram was dried that I had, but you want it crushed just to, like if you're growing it fresh in the summer, you want to crush it, dry it and crush it, and it's more flavorful than what's in a jar. Let's see, what else do I have? And so you just boil it. You boil it for about an hour until the peas are soft, and then you can take the immersion blender and just mix it all together. And then, those of you who did not put dried carrots in at the beginning, that's when you put your carrots in. That's when you put, because you've already, no, you won't do the immersion blender at that point. You let that cook for about 20 minutes until the carrots are soft, and then you blend it in. Let's see, what else could you do? And then later put the ham in. If you have a ham bone, you're just going to be scraping off the ham so you're not chewing on bone. Let's see, and you would discard the bone. Let's see. And if you like celery, it takes 2 stalks of celery that you chop up, and again, that's something that you would put in at the end. The reason I don't put celery in it is my husband really does not like celery in his soup. Now, okay, I don't necessarily like peas in a certain way, but because of the way I cook it or whatever, I can enjoy the benefits, the nutritional benefits of peas. And so celery has benefits, but that doesn't mean that you have to force it on people. And if you make your own celery salt, and I have made celery salt, and I have a video out there for that, you can add that for the little flavoring. And I think that's it. And so you just let it cook. Let that, like I used regular ham left over from Christmas that was frozen. My husband's been taking a couple of sandwiches, and then I have enough left to make him a quiche. He's going to be so excited. And then we just enjoy this. I'll probably can some up or freeze it, because it's something that I don't want sitting in the refrigerator for us to eat for 5 days. It's something that we'll probably have tomorrow. and then he might have on Sunday, and then we'll put the rest in the probably the freezer, so that we have more food options. One thing that, I mean, if you have to do that because money is tight, it's a good meal. And then you can add in like a bowl of applesauce on the side or something like that. If you have to do that, at least you're eating. If you don't have to and you can make another meal, you can stretch the soup out so it goes beyond a week. You know, you have it as a lunch. Those of you who work outside the home, you can take it if you have access to a microwave, because it's usually the best way most people are able to cook their meals at work. And then I would just recommend having a glass container versus plastic, because as you cook, I don't know if you've seen plastic containers, they get all kind of burnt out on the inside. So think outside the box, or think of, okay, I don't have this, what can I use? You might be surprised at how you can change a recipe to fit your palate and what you have available to you. And this will save you, this is pretty inexpensive. Where do I get my, if I was going to use dried onions, I would have put that right in. Where do I get dried carrots? Where do I get any dried products? You can get a lot of this stuff at your grocery store. I believe Walmart does as well. And there's some other companies across the country. I use Palouse, and I don't get my onions from them. I mostly get my lentils and dried peas from them. But there's other companies like Augustin, and there you can buy from Amazon, and you can buy directly from the company, and you can get dried onions, you can get dried carrots, so we bought a canister, 2 canisters of a few items that we like having on hand as a backup. And it seems expensive, and this was my rationale. I don't have a freeze dryer. I have a dehydrator, but they take up a lot of energy, and I've been cutting back. I use them mostly for herbs, and so I did some dehydrating in the fall, and my electric bill went up. I was talking to a friend last night, and she was sharing the other unit there, the freeze dryer, doesn't pull on the energy as much. So I would have to save quite a bit in order to get the freeze dryer. Right now it's not in our budget, and it's not in our budget for this year. So that's not going to happen this year unless there's a miracle. You know, I don't know, David gets a massive bonus or something. We're not planning that. But it's not in the budget because our plans right now in the budget is to make ends meet. And, you know, if we're able to find a house, we're going to want money set aside for that. So that's what I'm talking about, and I hope that you are blessed with this information. May God bless you. Have a great weekend.